Welcome back to the DC3 conference. Now it is a time for the deep dive session on proof of reserve and sign NFTs. So the DC3 conference is organized by the Digital Currency Global Initiative, DCGI, which is a joint collaboration between the UN ITU, International Telecommunication Union, and the Future of Digital Currency Initiative at Stanford University. I'm Jean-Marc Seigneur, Director of the Blockchain Certificate of Advanced Studies at the University of Geneva, and I lead the stablecoins, decentralized finance, DeFi, and NFT workstream as part of the DCGI. So DCGI has also other working groups working on, for example, policy and governance, architecture, interoperability, and use cases. This work stream is part of this working group, and a third working group on security and assurance. As part of this session, so we will have two speakers, Mr. Max Melcher from Chainlink, a very well-known company doing decentralized oracles, who will be speaking on this topic of proof of reserves, and also we'll be able to discuss on proof of reserves, proof of liabilities in a decentralized way. And then we will discuss after my presentation on sign NFTs, so how we can get more trustworthy non-fungible tokens, especially applied in the art domain. And in DeFi, sometimes you can have collaterals based on art NFTs. So we'll discuss this, and then after we'll have the question and answer session. So let me share my screen as well. Alors, okay, sure. I think you can see my screen now. Okay, so non-fungible tokens, NFTs, have gained a lot of momentum since 2021. And I've been working on trust, decentralized trust since 2005, because I did my PhD on decentralized attack-resistant computational trust algorithms. I'm still teaching at University of Geneva, where I lead what we call the Certificate of Advanced Studies on Blockchain Development and Decentralized Finance. It's an online course that can be attended online via Zoom, and it gives an official certificate from the University of Geneva. I've also started to look at the trust in NFTs, because as you will see in this presentation, a lot of issues are still existing. And so I've tried to provide a solution, and we also work on NFTs as part of the work stream of the DCGI. So in this case, I'm also helping artists, because NFTs are mostly used for digital art or certificates linked to external art as digital certificates, NFTs. It's an ownership of digital art or an external art. And so we have a group called ArtistCert, which is trying to use more trustworthy NFTs to have better trust in these NFTs. I've carried out also some research surveys. For example, in September 2022, we carried out a survey over 1,800 Americans, so it's a statistically valid survey. We ask a number of questions on the trust of Americans in NFTs. And for example, here, as you can see, we ask, have you already bought an NFT? And so 5.7% of the American population, adult population, had already bought an NFT. The young generations it's even higher for them, around like 15%, especially the men. There are fewer women who have bought NFTs, but still, if they are young, it's higher than that, 10 to 15%. We see also here that a good number of people didn't understand the question. So, I mean, meaning that we can assume that they don't know what an NFT is. But overall, I mean, 5.7% of people, of Americans who have already bought an NFT is quite high for this starting, market. And it's over the world, it's around billions of valuation of volume of exchange between NFTs, between entities. So the market has grown a lot since 2021 mostly. It's not only about the speculation, the volume of money exchange between buyers and sellers of NFTs, but as you can see, it's a full stack, technical stack. So yeah, it's a diagram from Messari. So you see, of course, at the bottom we have the blockchains. Ethereum is the most well-known one. We have a few others where there are lots of NFTs, Solana, Tezos. Of course, some of these blockchains might have issues, like Solana, which was linked to FTX, the company that's collapsed, the central exchange. And so, although developers in Solana, there are lots of like legit developers, software developers. Of course, this domain, this blockchain ecosystem had a big hit, and so some projects left Solana to other blockchains, and so the long-term validity of an NFT on Solana may be questioned. But at the moment, the price went up again, and so it seems that it could continue. But you see, I mean, it's clearly, I mean, some blockchains may be there in 10 years, but others, they may not be there in 10 years. So NFTs are not so permanent as we might think. Then we have other systems, peer-to-peer systems, which are not blockchains, like IPFS, Interplanetary File System, that are used between peers, between nodes. So if you run a node, the files that you have on your node will be copied in other nodes. So it's a way to have a distributed file system. And there's also an economy. Of course, if nobody pays anything, it's not going to last as well. So Filecoin is a token on top of IPFS, which is used to try to have an economic model to be able to maintain the files in a very long term. And Arweave also, and these others are also linked to this peer-to-peer decentralized file system that try to have a permanent storage of files. That could not be done on blockchains because blockchains have less space, and also, for example, if you want to do that on Ethereum, it would cost too much. Storing big file on blockchains is not really feasible most of the time. So here, these systems also exist for the storage of the media, for example, linked to the art NFT. NFTs were also at the beginning designed not only for art, but also for many other use cases. So you see, you have lots of other use cases, some lending of NFTs. It could be used in supply chains, not only in art. On top, of course, we have some marketplace. The most well-known one is OpenSea. OpenSea is more a marketplace for art NFTs. So lots of different layers and lots of providers, technical providers. So it's not only about speculation, it's also about a lot of technology innovation. But speculation is a big part of it, of course, for the buzz that it created. And here there's a study showing that, for example, of course, there were billions of trading volume of NFT, but researchers, Ildobi, found that actually half of the trading volume was what we called wash trading, meaning that it was kind of fake exchange between buyer and seller. For example, the buyer and the seller is the same, and they were only transacting between accounts owned by the same entity. So it increases theoretically. I mean, if you don't look at some kind of attacks, you could think that the price increases, but the entity who buys is the same entity who gets the money. So overall, I mean, this is not a real transaction, and these were not really taken into account before some further research. So NFT, if we look more at the NFT definition, then here, for example, you would have Alice, who was a cryptocurrency, one Bitcoin, and Bob, who has also one Bitcoin, and they also have one NFT, so which is a non-fungible token, meaning that at the difference of a Bitcoin, that can be, you see, Bob can send the Bitcoin and Alice send the Bitcoin. They still have one Bitcoin each, so any Bitcoin is the same, it's fungible. Here, the NFT, the non-fungible token, will be linked to different types of assets or things. And here, for example, the first one, Bob, has an NFT linked to a CryptoPunk. You see a kind of specific image why CryptoPunk is so expensive, 10 Ether at the price, the current price, it could be like $15,000. Why? Because it was one of the first NFTs created, so they're also limited in numbers, and so the price is quite high. But Alice could have an NFT linked to a Van Gogh, which is tokenized, for example, and the mean price of a Van Gogh is 50 million. So you see here, I guess Alice wouldn't exchange the Van Gogh for the CryptoPunk because the prices are different. So really, you cannot exchange. One NFT is not the same as the other one because they are linked to different resources. If we look more at the detail, for example, we have a de facto standard by Ethereum, the Ethereum Foundation, so that leads most decisions and extensions of the Ethereum virtual machine, with also standards in smart contracts. So here we had a proposed standard, let's say, for creating a non-fungible token on Ethereum, ERC 721. It started in 2018. And so here you have the smart contract in a rectangle. And so you will have the smart contract will be deployed on Ethereum. So it has a specific blockchain contract blockchain address, so which is static because the contract is deployed on this address. Then you have a number of NFTs in this contract, and usually it's an integer, a big number. Each NFT has a number, and then of course, when you have the NFT 1, 2, 3, 4, the identifier will never change. So if you have on Ethereum the contract address and the NFT, it's a unique identifier for your NFT. But of course, in this standard, there are other fields. You could put, for example, a URI, so which is a web address, let's say, could be other types of storage, but let's say it's a URL, a uniform resource locator, a web address most of the time. You see, in the standard in Ethereum, it was mutable, meaning that it can be dynamic, it can change. So here, if you would have a URI pointing to, for example, the name and description of digital art with also the image of the web address of the image of your art, digital art. But if it can change, it means that okay, you still have the same token 1, 2, 3, 4, but the metadata could change because the URI could change. And so for some applications like supply chain and other types of application, it could make sense. But for art, of course, if you buy an NFT with the title, it's a digital version of a Picasso, for example, that you bought, you had the rights for it. You don't want that it is changed the day after or the week after. So the first thing is that you should really check the smart contract of the implemented where your NFT is implemented, because the link could be mutable, could be dynamic, and so for example the owner of or the deployer of the smart contract could still change the URI and pointing to a description and a different image. So it's very important, you see, to check that. And many projects don't give details. We studied, for example, even like OpenSea, smart contracts. It was not so easy to extract and to analyze them, to audit them. So the URI may be broken. And because the deployer changed the URI, but also it could be a web address which is pointing to a centralized server, and so the centralized servers could go down. It could be done due to technical reasons. It could be modified by the admin of the web server, and then also if it was on a paid domain, maybe the admin could stop paying the cloud server and the domain as well, and so you will lose also the access to the image and all the information behind the URI. So it's a bit better if you, of course, deploy it, have a link on a decentralized file system, because, as we said, it may be more permanent. But each of them here have some flaws. IPFS, as I said, if you stop running your own node, then the other nodes will not maybe copy or keep a copy of your files if your node is down. You could use service like Pinata, but Pinata would run a node for you. But if you stop paying Pinata, then at some stage the link, at least the file could not be redistributed and copied. Same for Filecoin, same for Arweave. They have always some tokenomics, economics that, in the long term, if nobody pays, it's clear that, the people will not run servers for them. However, even some big companies are now thinking of decentralizing the storage of their images and NFTs and resources. Even Meta, the new name of Facebook, said they would use Arweave to store the NFT metadata or media for Instagram and the different services that they have. Maybe not all of them, but some of them. So here, if you look at an example, very recent, in December 2022, Trump officially used OpenSea and the technical operator to generate 45,000 NFTs. And here you see this is how it appears on OpenSea. You have the screenshot of the thumbnail of the image. You have the recent prices, and here that's a basic display by OpenSea. What we look in at the bottom of this display, we can find the contract address, and you see the token ID. Here, the blockchain where it is deployed, it is on Polygon. It's not on Ethereum. It is Ethereum compatible blockchain. The good thing already in the description is that they have a links to specific license terms for the buyer and the owner of the NFT, because also you see in OpenSea, if you don't add a specific license in the description of the NFT, you don't know what the rights that you have as an owner. Here, clearly, it's already better than other projects because you can clearly see, for example, you say that you can display and put on sale this NFT on other platforms than OpenSea. If the platform, if the platform also makes sure that the royalties will be paid. So yeah, it's better than most NFTs because already most NFTs don't have these additional license terms, link or detailed. And here, if we look at the details of when we point to the contract and the ID from the smart contract, we can retrieve the token URI. We see that the token URI points to collecttrumpscards.com and with a JSON file on this server. But here you see that's the problem. If one day collecttrumpcards.com, in 40 years when Trump, for example, would have died, and others. Other people will be here as politicians. Maybe the guy also who deployed collecttrumpscards.com would not pay anymore, would be also dead, and so the web server would not exist. So you cannot retrieve this data, and you cannot retrieve also the image linked to your NFT, because the image is also on a centralized server. So you see that's the problem of this, for example, NFT. Here, the image that you will have bought linked to the NFT URI will surely at some stage go down because nobody will pay for collecttrumpscards.com. And so you will lose any proof that it was the right image that was linked to this NFT. Other NFT issues. So we have, for example, difficulty in evaluating the price because, as I said, there is wash trading. So then after, sometimes it's used for kind of money laundering because, for example, you create 10 NFTs. You are not an artist, but you create 10 NFTs. Someone of your friends buy one of the NFTs, like $1,000. You still have 9 other NFTs worth $9,000 because already someone bought one for $1,000. And so what you could argue to your tax office is that you would give the 9 to other people. So you could decrease your taxes because you said you had $9,000 in NFTs that you gave to other people. So it's sometimes quite used in the real world for artworks, but here you see it also can be used in the digital world. Of course, it's risky. Another point is that even like when we had the Trump account on OpenSea, we have the website. He says that he has a real connection with Trump, the official Trump, but there is no legal certainty. I mean that this is the case, and so there is no the art NFT has no digital signature. Really proving that this is an original work from a real artist. So there is no signature as you can find in the physical world. And then also there is no details about the rights, the obligations, and artist written rights and commitments, because most of the time there is no license terms. In OpenSea, most of the time there is no license terms, and so this is another issue. So we started to think about how we could add an artist signature to NFTs and also specific license terms that would be legally valid from, legal point of view in different jurisdictions. And so the idea here is that also it should be easy for the end users to understand, what is signed. So we thought that the easiest way was to create a document that would be digitally signed with existing solutions that are recognized legally. So we have in the EU and Switzerland what we call qualified electronic signatures, meaning that a person, the artist, goes to a provider. So, for example, in ArtistCert, the provider is Swisscom. There will be a face-to-face check by Swisscom of the face of the user. It will show also an ID. And then after, he can sign or she can sign a document digitally. And from a law point of view, this is recognized as handwritten signature, meaning that it's like the artist had signed the document. So in the document, we put very specific details to be sure that, for example, we know all the license terms. We know we say, okay, I sign that I'm the artist. I sign that this NFT on this blockchain on this smart contract, and this token ID that will never change is an original work of mine. You could store also other things for example, to prove further features, like you could have a lower resolution image. To facilitate really for the buyer what is signed. And also we saw that it was even easier if the document is a PDF, because most of the users have access to Adobe Reader. And so in Adobe Reader, you have also even a signature check. When you open the document, you have a signature check, and you can check that this is a digitally valid signature. So that's what we said. So we have a document with all the information, and if you want to facilitate the user check, then you would have a link to this the PDF in the NFT metadata, and also you would store this. You would store the metadata and the document, and also ideally the media on IPFS, to be sure that there is a trace. And also the good thing with IPFS is that IPFS store documents based on the hash of the content. So if you store an image on IPFS and it's not stored anymore, but then after you restore it, it will still have the same link, the same hash, so you could be able to prove further things if it's used on IPFS. So a number of other things I will not detail, but of course we are always trying to improve it, and the idea is also to work as part of the work stream to really define the major fields and the required fields and the optional fields. So final thing, you could even just have the ownership of an NFT with just the ID. So you are the owner of the NFT, but the metadata or the document is not on. There's no link on the blockchain or even on IPFS. And if you are the owner of the PDF, you are sure anyway, because it's legally signed, that it was an original work of such artist. And so we could have a private signed NFT, because you could have you could just use a blockchain to transfer the NFTs to avoid double spending. So to transfer the ownership of the NFT, but no metadata in the NFT, but still be able to prove that you own, for example, Picasso, because in the PDF it says, okay, this NFT here with such ID is signed by the, not Picasso because he's dead, but the institution who manages the works of Picasso. So here we have an example. Here you see there is an example on OpenSea. If the metadata and the art is on IPFS, it's rarely used, but you see you have a small frozen icon, meaning that this is on IPFS already. It's already better, but most of the NFTs on OpenSea, they don't use a frozen version. So first of all, Why? Because there is a small cost, but of course, if you buy a non-frozen NFT on OpenSea already, I mean, it means it's not an IPFS, so you have more risk. You see here that it's frozen. We have the frozen value. And here we have the example. So you see we have the metadata we find on IPFS. And then we have the link to the certificate. Here the PDF would be also put on IPFS. And yes, as I said, we reviewed OpenSea smart contracts in a linked reference. And so here is the PDF. You see that, for example, it was an art signed by the artist Loïc Morel. So I just hidden I have hidden a number of fields because it was like so to be sure that this is the real Loïc Morel with the city of birth, the birth date. You see, we have the ID of the token ID. He signed a number of rights. So, you know, and here when you open this in Adobe Reader, when you see here, you have the example, it will say that, you see, this is signed by Swisscom. This is qualified electronic signature. So from an EU point of view and also Swiss point of view, this is as a unwritten signature. So here with your NFT, you really have a document signed by the artist saying it is an original. The good thing is that even legacy NFTs can be signed backward compatible. If you want to try this kind of solution, you can go to ArtistCert.art. We are moving to a Web 2 version where there will be also a smart contract and possibly a decentralized autonomous organization to be able to have an ecosystem of signed NFTs. And of course, join us, the work stream. If you are interested in NFTs, you have solutions, and you want to contribute to the DeFi and NFT work stream, you can join us as part of the DCGI. A few links. Thanks. So that was my presentation, and now we are going to move back to the questions. Okay, so please, could you share the questions? Well, at the bottom left, we have for the signed NFT solution, how much more data will be needed to be stored on-chain, on Ethereum or other needed chains, any estimated cost? As I said, I mean, by default, you could only have you need only the ID to have an NFT without any metadata on-chain. So all the license terms and details are in the separate document that could be a PDF, and so the cost actually there is no more. There is no additional cost, and it can be also backward compatible for some NFTs that have no signed documents. They could also get signed documents by the real artist. Alors, is it possible that the metadata could go away over time on IPFS? Yes, as I said, on IPFS, you know, the economics, because as I said, you know, otherwise you have the tragedy of the commons. Some people run nodes, IPFS nodes, and they don't do it for free most of the time. So what happens here is that in the basic setup of IPFS, you run your node, you're going to have you want that some of your files are shared and copied by others. So basically, your node also copies files from others. And if your node goes down, at some stage, the others will say, okay, he's not sharing anymore, so they're not going to copy your files anymore. However, the good thing with IPFS is that, you know, if you stored, for example, a PDF document about signed NFT, the license terms, there is a specific hash, and it could disappear. But if the user has still this document personally, and then would put it again 2 years after on IPFS, it would have exactly the same path and file name, hash name on IPFS. So you can still prove forever. I mean, yeah, I mean, as long as you have the PDFs or the signed documents, you can go back and put them on IPFS. You can prove that it was the same document with the hash. What do you think about the high gas fees for NFT, especially chain? Is there any good solution? Also, then after it's a trade-off between if the blockchain will survive the bear markets and will be still there in the long term. So of course Ethereum is a bit more expensive. Basically, you have Polygon that is very compatible with Ethereum, but less decentralized. So yeah, so I mean, for example, the fees on Polygon are less. But then again, the signed document will not add other gas fees because you can do it without a blockchain. And that's also the good thing, is that even, for example, Solana blockchain dies and you would have had signed NFTs on Solana, you could still prove that what was behind the NFT and what was the digital art and with a real official signature. So it's also, from this point of view, a good solution for blockchains that are not so, that might have issues to survive in the long term. What are the differences between signed NFT and soul-bound tokens? So soul-bound tokens, for people who don't know, means that, for example, you have a blockchain address and somehow this has been linked to a user identity, and your token will be bound to this blockchain address and to the identity. I mean, there are different versions, variants, but it's more like the token cannot move from the blockchain address, which is supposed to be only owned by a specific human soul, a human soul, one human. Here, actually, we don't need that because this is a document signed by the artist, and the good thing is that it's already, from a regulation or legislation law point of view, it's already accepted in the real world, because also, soul-bound tokens and so on, they are things created by the crypto community, and I think there is a very long path before this is legally valid. Qualified electronic signatures are already accepted by law in Europe and Switzerland, and so the good thing, at least here, is that if you go into a legal trial in the real world, this is really signed, it is legally valid. So you don't have to say, yes, but this is a soul-bound token. The judge, if he doesn't know anything about blockchain, soul-bound token is not in the law. Qualified electronic signatures are already accepted by law. So if you have a document which is signed by an artist, you are with the terms, the specific terms, you are sure you can have a legally valid document. So you don't always need to build a very complicated blockchain solution when in the real world you already have a legal solution. I think most of the questions have been answered.